And as we then make this journey, we can be assured of one thing, that no matter what comes our way in this life, we are worthy of that opportunity, and that we are equipped. Not emotionally crippled, but we are equipped through the will, the scepter of decision as to what we want. If we simply base every decision upon our emotions, we are doomed, and we will never wear the crown of our God, of our Christ. We will never be boldly described as the traveler of time. We will only be another human being who was never heroes. Heroes are the only thing that history ever remembers. And what is the hero? Simply put, they are the ones that were the rogues against the system. That is why they were remembered. No one remembers all the yes people. Do they? No one. No one will ever remember you for being status quo. The only people that are ever remembered...
Number 2, performed by the Portland String Quartet and Paul Posnick on the piano. This recording came to you.
No one will ever remember you for being status quo. The only people that are ever remembered are those who listened to another drummer. They were out of step with all humanity. They are what is worth remembering. Shouldn't that be then a sign to you? So travelers of time are those that have made marks in history. They were never the yes man or the no woman. They knew it and they did it, and let everything fall where it was because they didn't do it for everyone's acceptance. They did it because they were compelled to do it, because they are travelers in time. They did not do it for emotion. If they had done it for emotion, they would never have done it. They would have been intimidated. Do you understand that? And they would never have made the choices they made because it would have cost them their marriage, their relationship. It would have cost them that which is termed their reputation. It would have cost them their gold. It would have cost them their privilege in society. If all of those were on the line and they still made the decision, then they put everything of emotion to the side and made the decision. Those are travelers in time. That is what the observer is. Now there are masters that are already in quantum time way beyond you, and you are still here groping about what your mother did to you. You are still fingering yourself with the abandonment of your father. You are still getting sick because no one loved you when you were a child. You are still throwing up at the thought of not being accepted. What kind of children are you going to bear? Neurosis. Children who are prone to neurosis, psychosomatic attitude behavior. That is what kind of children you are bearing. They are going to die early. Nature will take them out in the first plague. They are not equipped for it. They are not emotionally equipped for it. They are not biophysically equipped for it. Do you understand? To everlasting life as being the time traveler, God I am. The observer of this blessed life, so be it to life. Great men of renown. So the men who have come to listen to that which is termed the teachings of an outrageous entity in a woman's body are obviously men of renown, and they are here to listen to truth. They are more than the sum total of that which is termed their first seal. They are vacillating closer to that which is termed the third and on to the fourth. It is just oftentimes you want to define men by their sexuality. You insist upon it, and they acquiesce. But don't you know that their heart is not where their first seal is? If it were, as well as the woman are in a If it were, you would have kept them there a long time ago. So the men, as well as the women, are in a move, evolutionarily speaking. And I want to say on behalf of my beautiful men in this audience that they do have a greater dream, and indeed, that they do have a greater desire, and that their ideals for mateship are much loftier than what women give them credit for. For there is not a man in this audience that would not like for that which shares his bed with him, and indeed his seed with him, that would not be able to share equally, a mind that is both challenging, invigorating, and that which is termed a creative spirit that knows no boundaries, and that which above all loves God more than they. There is no man in this audience that would not want such a woman, and indeed such a mate. So the men that are here then should not be categorized with that which is termed those who are vulnerable only to heterae, because they have come here for another agenda as well, for equally their journey is a journey that is filled with terrors and threats and battles and wars and always the past. And perhaps for a man, the most important of all challenges is failure in the men's eyes around him. If a man can become greater than the challenges of his counterparts, then he is unequaled. A man who holds his esteem equal to the eyes of the men around him has many equals. And if women wanted ordinary men, there is certainly a marketplace to get them. So then who am I addressing tonight? The point is that it doesn't matter what gender we are. We should never ally ourselves to our gender, but to our God. And that then speaks of the student on the path of the great work, of the great work, the great work. There is no woman that should beg consideration in the face of masculine contempt. There is no woman here that should say that, quote, I am less because I am a woman and thereby put the responsibility of my care into my male, unquote. If you do, you are not in the great work. And I dare say, as it were, there is no man here that should say that he is superior to any woman, that he is only equal to mind. So what does it say about every one of you here? Every one of you here has an observer with a capital O. Every one of you are ultimately that. To diminish yourself is to be less than that. To diminish yourself is to become the frailty of your biological, emotional propensities. To be the observer and to say, I am creating this. And then the next statement is, I am looking forward to the experience. Not that the next statement is, I am creating this, but it doesn't feel good to me or it doesn't feel right to me. I don't want to hear that. A master of the great work says, quote, I am creating. It isn't a matter of how I feel. I will get to that when I manifest it. Anything other than that is just layering the past to my future. The retreat is very much about coming to peeling the onion back, to finding that part that makes us afraid or insecure or unequal or unchallenged or makes us great or ungreat. And if we are going to find the core of who we are, somewhere along the way we must appreciate our beautiful feminine beauty, but it cannot be the end-all to everything, and it is only temporary. Moreover, we cannot get stuck in our penises and our prowess as a lover. And we cannot think that our success is taking another woman away from another man. We cannot think that way. That is the way old satraps think, and they are all dead. Somewhere we must lay that aside and reach for something deeper. We have to go deeper. And we have to find that voice that just observes quietly, unemotionally, and simply is in a state of isness. That no matter what we put at its feet is going to make it greater or less. That is what these retreats are about, is finding underneath the woman, the observer, and being it as boldly as you have been a woman, in all your cleverness and in all your manipulation and in all your lies and in all your gearing down for entrapment. And indeed, it is finding the observer in the man who tries and pretends to be brave and strong and spiritual and the breadwinner and sexual. The truth is that really godly men don't enjoy their sexuality that much. They do it for the sake of competition. A truly godly man finds it not on the high end of approval in his physical existence. Anytime you find a man who has more passion for his thought and his creation than he does for his body, you have found a god, and they are rarer than two suns in the sky. That is the journey. Now, why do we say when you are older and wiser? Does it mean that physical age must come before wisdom? Usually that is the truth. Why? Because usually that which detracts has finally given way and no one is interested anymore. That is when all of those emotions can finally become wisdom. When nobody cares any longer is when you get really wise. Older and wiser is the golden hall of the gods, but we can become that even when we are in the blush of youth. This retreat is about finding the observer beyond physical sexuality and finding it in a place that it fulfills us utterly. And that, women, you don't have to play your games anymore. What would you do in a fortnight if you didn't do that? What if instead of making love, you told the truth? What if in a fortnight you were really who you were, the observer? What would happen? Would a lot of things change? Yes. I like it. It is called chaos. They fall away so that something can match to what has presented itself. So you would be so who would you be if you couldn't be a hetera? Do you have the mind? Do you? And about you men, are you really brave and beautiful without your sexuality? And who are you? Who is with you in your life? That tells you who you are. Could you be that on your own? Could you be honest and truthful? Would you dare to be emotional? Would you dare to tell the truth? Would you dare to do that? In a fortnight, if you did, many things would change. And of those of you who nothing would change, then blessed are you, because you already are living the life of righteousness. And here is the point. We are talking about fabulous wealth that everyone wants. What stands in the way of that? Pretense, hypocrisy, cheating, lying, all of those things that are not the observer at all. If the observer can observe fabulous wealth, then how did we create it? Do we put a feminine spin on it or a masculine spin? How are we going to get our wealth? Are we going to get it through a man? Are we going to get it through fight and treachery? How do we get it? Because don't you understand, my beautiful people, that the day the past is over for you is the day that whatever the observer creates is without the attachment of the past? What miracle must come into your life, but must dress down for your approval? Good point, isn't it? Because consciousness and energy is always creating reality, even the emotional body. I want you to be able to create clearly. I want you to create whatever the observer sees without any ulterior motive. Ulterior motives are the games that men and women play in the fields of God. The clearest, cleanest, fastest way to manifestation is to create without gender. Then it happens straight away. How many of you understand that? So be it. So be it. Hare Krishna. Aloha. Namaste. Hallelujah.